Imagine busting your arse off for a career that you've always wanted just to get to the point where you didn't want to do it anymore. And if you are feeling the same, please keep watching. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Positive Vet Nurse channel, and I hope that everyone is doing really well today. So today's video is all about why I almost quit vet nursing. I'm going to tell you what happened, and if you're going through something very similar, I'm hoping that I can give you some tips or a bit of advice or a bit of inspiration on what to do from here. So as always, if you could like and subscribe the video, that would be absolutely amazing so that I can keep delivering content like this to you. So for me, these feelings of not wanting to be in this profession anymore came to light whilst I was locuming. So it was in the early stages of me locuming, so I might have been about 4 years qualified potentially, and I was still trying to find my confidence as it was. As the nature of locuming, you go to lots of different practices, everything's always different, and of course the people are always different. And there was one practice in particular that almost broke me completely. It was just absolutely horrendous. I was being bullied and harassed on shift, made to feel like I didn't belong in the workspace or the profession. After the shifts had ended, I was still getting really awful messages, and it just built up this horrendous amount of anxiety where I couldn't sleep. I felt completely alone with this, and I also got to a point where I felt quite ashamed as well. And I think those feelings of shame and embarrassment came from thinking, I've been in this profession a while, surely I'm at the point where, I shouldn't have to be going through this sort of thing anymore. I got bullied at school quite badly. I'm thinking, I thought those days were over, and they weren't. And, I've always wanted to do this job. And it gets you to a point when this sort of thing happens where you're thinking, this isn't worth my mental health, this isn't worth me doing anymore, because it's just putting so much stress and it's causing me so much upset. Why should I put myself through this anymore? Which is really, really sad. And I know a lot of people are going through this, and it's a big reason why people do leave this profession is because of other people that ruin it for them. And I just think, there's a lot of mental health issues within the profession. We are one of the highest professions with suicide rates, things like that. And it's, why are people being mean to each other? Because we've got enough stress as it is. Why are we doing this to each other? It just makes no sense to me. I'm sorry for anybody that has gone through this or that is going through this, but I just want you to know that you will be okay. Another thing as well about why I wanted to leave was because my skill set wasn't being recognised. I wasn't being valued. I was being underutilised constantly. Instead of me doing Schedule 3 procedures and doing more advanced consults, or, just doing things that vet nurses should really be doing, instead I was just being a glorified cleaner. After a while, it does start to get you down, because we didn't come into the profession to be glorified cleaners. That's not what we do. Even though hygiene control is a massive job for us, and I am happy doing it, I'm also not happy when my skills aren't utilised and cleaning is literally the only thing that I do day in, day out. So what kept me going then really is that I decided to throw my savings into doing a coaching certification, because I was looking for that relief. I was looking for something to do, and I thought, if I could maybe reduce my hours in practice, maybe if I could set up my own business, then I can get out of this hell that I was in. I managed to locum at nicer practices in the meantime. With everything being in mind and wanting to leave the profession, it was pure necessity that kept me in the profession. And I was even looking at jobs to, stack shelves in Aldi. I'd get paid more money doing that, which is absolutely crazy. I even applied for coffee shop jobs, anything that would get me out of, how I was feeling. It's just really sad for me because, again, this is something that I've always wanted to do, and I didn't think it would pan out like this. So, and looking back in hindsight now, I know that I should have left these practices a lot sooner where I was being bullied and harassed. But sometimes you don't know in the moment what the best thing to do is, and I didn't want to come across as someone that let people down, let the practices down. I didn't want to get a name for myself of somebody who doesn't show up, and I also wanted to prove to myself that I could stick out difficult situations. But I do also think that you have to look after your mental health. Like, you can't keep running yourself into the ground. You can't keep, putting yourself through these things that are making you so deeply unhappy and miserable, because then it's going to filter into different areas of your life, and you will come home, you'll be angry at your partner, at your kids, at your parents, whoever it is. You will turn into a person that you don't like. It will affect everybody around you. So at the end of the day, it isn't worth it. It's not worth staying unhappy for, if it is something that you want to pursue. And I guess this is a reminder for you as well, is that you don't have to stay anywhere that you don't want to. Nobody's forcing you. Having a job in a particular practice, that is a choice that you are making. I know that sometimes finances can be an issue. It might be that the practice you're at is really convenient, but is it right for you? I found as well, like, it wasn't a me problem either. It was a cultural problem, it was an environmental problem, and it just was not right for me. So I decided to make that choice and to leave, even though at the time it was really difficult, because I was getting good money. It was helping me pay for my mortgage and my bills, and I felt quite comfortable at that point. It still wasn't right for me because I was unhappy, and sometimes that is what matters the most. I feel that everything these people tried to put against me, when they tried to bring me down about my positive fitness page, about all the passions and my niche and what I enjoy talking about and what I love doing, these are actually now my biggest assets. The passion that I have for wanting to help people in this profession, and they tried to use all these things against me, and I'm so glad that I didn't. I just went in on everything harder. Yeah, I'm just glad that I didn't lose that part of myself, because it can be easy to do that when you're in those situations. So once I'd realised what the problem was, I stopped taking on locum shifts that would fill me with complete dread. And I started working really hard on my business as well, which is the Positive Vet Nurse, where I coach veterinary nurses to build their confidence and self-esteem. Essentially what I was trying to do for myself. I then moved to a practice permanently where I am utilised for my skills and appreciated for my work. So that ended up being a lot better for me than locuming. I then started feeling happier and more free and more like myself than I had done in a long time. And I think when you can get to this sort of place, it's quite empowering and it makes you become your best self. So for anyone going through this right now, where they are toying with potentially leaving the profession, I just want you to know that it is easy to quit. It's always the easiest option is to quit. And I'm not saying it's also the wrong option as well. If that is something that you feel deep down that you must do in order to protect your mental health, your physical health, then absolutely you do that. But the thing is, for me, is that I could have quit my Positive Vet Nurse page. I could have quit vet nursing, and instead I just decided to hone in on them both and use them as my best assets, because at the end of the day, it's what you want and what you want to achieve, and you can make it work. It's just sometimes you have to try out a different practice, or you have to make something for yourself. So have a think about, what is it that you really want? How do you want to feel as well? When we're in the middle of all of this and what is going on, it's hard to have a goal, because you just feel so rubbish. But think about how you want to actually feel, and then use that as your guide to creating these goals. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to get out of your career that is going to bring you back with that excitement and make you feel like this is right for you again? Because sometimes it is just an environment change that's needed. Sometimes it's a little bit more than that. So something that I did as well was the personal development work. I had to put a lot of effort into healing my old wounds, working on my triggers, aligning my behaviours with my values and my goals and what I actually wanted, and going out of my comfort zone in order to achieve them. And this really helped me grow my confidence as well at the same time. And when you grow your confidence, it gives you more options as to what you want to do with your career. Also, working on your confidence gaps is something I would say would be most important for you to do. So identify where it is that you aren't feeling confident and address that. And if you need any help with this, please send me a message and I can help you. I also want you to know that there is always a choice in this. You know, there is always going to be another job. There's always going to be other options and things that you can do. Don't worry about what it looks like on your CV. I know a lot of people will say, well, I keep going from practice to practice. I can't seem to find where it is that I feel like I belong. And I completely get that. I really do. But please don't worry about what this looks like on your CV, because your practice is more important than what a piece of paper says, okay? You know, places not being right for you is nothing to be ashamed of, all right? Find somewhere that aligns with your values, with your goals and what you want to do in your career, and one that creates that safe, supportive culture that you can actually work and thrive in. Something else I will say is that sometimes you just need a break. Sometimes a break from this profession might be what you need, and I don't mean like a little holiday abroad. I mean sometimes you might just have to pause this for a moment and go, you know what, I'm going to come back to this when I feel like my mental health is better. I just need a breather. And it doesn't mean that you have to leave the profession forever. It just means that you need some time to work on yourself, maybe do something a bit different, to then realise, actually, I do love this profession, I miss it, I want to come back to it, and you can start afresh all over again. That is also okay. Vet nursing now has so many different roles, different options for you to work, you know, remotely, to work hybrid, to set your own business up, set your own side hustle up. There's always little things that you can do to try and get your spark back in the profession. So it's worth exploring what is out there. You need to find what you're passionate about and you need to give it a go. I hope that this video has been really helpful for you and that you've been able to find out some sort of tips or some inspiration on what to do next. And again, if you do have any questions, please don't be afraid to send me a DM. I'm always happy to answer them and help out where I can. So if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for the next video.